Mahindra & Mahindra, Hyundai, Skoda, Tata Motors and many other car makers have slashed car prices already ahead of the September 22nd GST rate cuts to be effective. In fact, these discounts or revised prices, as one would call it, came into effect from September 6th itself. Now, Hyundai says that cars would get cheaper by as much as 2.4 lakh rupees. Mahindra's Scorpio N price has been slashed by 1.45 lakh rupees. Meanwhile, Toyota Fortuner price has been cut by as much as 3.5 lakh rupees. Tata Motors says that it is going to cut prices ranging from 30,000 rupees to as much as 4,65,000 rupees. Well, market leader Maruti Suzuki is yet to announce price cuts, and those decisions are likely to come today, if not in a few days from now. Meanwhile, luxury brands like Mercedes-Benz and BMW have also cut prices as much as 11 lakh rupees on some models. Now, what really happened during this entire GST Council meet and the rate decisions that came out was that while ICE engines as well as hybrids have been given this tax incentive, the GST on electric vehicles continues to stay at 5%. So this means the customer math on electric vehicles versus ICE now changes potentially in favor of ICE and hybrid, even though the GST on electric vehicles stays at just 5% compared to 18% on ICE and hybrids. So does this GST offer mixed signals to the future of mobility? Let's discuss that first with our two special guests joining us this morning. We've got Saharsh Damani, the CFO of FADA, joining us this morning. We also have Mr. Dilip Chenoy, the former Director General of SIAM, on the show. Mr. Chenoy, good morning. Let me start by asking you first. The GST Council has decided to cut rates on all internal combustion engines as well as hybrids, both in petrol and diesel categories. And even the higher range, 40%, now don't come with cess, in effect making them cheaper. And that is what we are seeing translate to the sticker prices of cars. But electric vehicles stay more or less constant. Now, does this change the math equation for consumers looking at buying new cars and potentially looking now at hybrids as well as the traditional ICE engines being more lucrative as compared to no further incentive on electric vehicles?
So thank you, Kartik. And I think it's very interesting that you actually, in retrospect, put this question. But just on the eve of the GST Council meeting, the question was whether even electric vehicles would go up to 18%.
That's right, sir.
Right. So that they were retained at 5% is a big plus point. The second is, if you look at the total cost of ownership, right, and you look at, there are two things. One, the total cost of the acquisition cost, another, the daily running cost.
Yeah.
Now, given the comparison, even with a CNG or petrol or a hybrid vehicle, the cost of running an electric vehicle is far lower than an ICE vehicle in terms of rupees per kilometer, right? So still that attractiveness is there. Yes, those who are looking at an option of EV and versus a low end or other equivalent ICE vehicle might find in the short term and as you go forward a very interesting option, because the total cost of ownership is kind of coming down for the non-electric vehicles, but remain constant for electric vehicles. So in that way, at the entry level, you might actually find this happening. But if you look at the more luxury segment, there the percentage of EVs sold as a share of the total vehicles sold is actually increasing. So there is something else happening in the luxury end of the segment, ICE versus hybrids versus EVs versus what is happening in the entry and the mid-level segment. The EV may look unattractive in the short run, but if you look at the long-term stability of EVs and looking at firms, looking at battery leasing and other such options, I think the future is bright for the EVs.
All right, future is bright for the EVs comes a word from Mr. Chenoy. But Mr. Damani, let me bring you into this discussion and help us understand what happens to auto companies from here on. In your opinion, do you think this demand by way of reduced prices is going to be short-lived, given that it comes right on the heels of India getting into festive season? So this Diwali until New Year, do you believe that that the demand is going to saturate in the next few months, or is this going to lead to a completely evolved competitive landscape where there are going to be more players returning to India or looking at coming to India, given the fact that now the competitive landscape with respect to tax at least is more lucrative for people to buy more cars?
Yeah, first of all, good morning and thank you for inviting me to your show. I think this is the start of, as you call in the stock market, it's a great bull run for the auto industry.
All right.
And as you see that most of the companies have now started reducing prices much before the 22nd September date when the GST rates come down to 18% and 40%. So what companies are now trying to do is to lure customers and to get them in the showroom even before the GST rate cut happens by reducing the prices as much as possible so that it is, in tandem with the reduction of prices from 22nd. So this is number one. Why we are doing so, including dealers and OEMs, is if a customer buys or makes a decision right now, he'll be able to get the vehicle of his choice, if his variant, his color, on time during the auspicious period of Navaratri on a specific day, which he is looking out for.
Right.
Because if on 22nd he comes and then books the vehicle, he may not be able to get the vehicle
Right.
on the auspicious day and time. Now,
All
this
right.
was on the short term. And in the mid to long term, I think this is a great reform which has happened. It's a watershed moment for the entire country.
Right.
And with this reduction, especially in the entry level bike two-wheeler segment or the entry level car segment, GST rate for specifically for entry level cars has come down from 29% to 18% now, which is a flat 11% reduction. And in the two-wheelers from 28 to 18, which is 10% reduction. This is something what FADA has been requesting the government since last 3 odd years.
That's right.
This segment was actually not picking up because of multiple reasons: the emission norm changes, the kind of road safety variant norms which were coming, which kept coming in from time to time. It always increased the prices of vehicle. But now with this reduction, I think the biggest gainer in this in the entire automotive industry and all commanding all the segments will be the entry level category, which will start seeing a good run from now onwards.
Right.
And if you see the Ganpati and Onam, which has just gone by,
Yeah.
and just by mere announcement at that point of time, we even didn't know what kind of reduction will happen.
Right.
Um, we saw customers coming in, making good inquiries. There was extremely healthy footfall in the market, in the showroom. The only challenge was conversions were not taking place because they were all in anticipation of a reduced GST rate. But as we see right now, demand is extremely high, and the festive season, the 42 days festive season, which begins on first day of Navaratri till 10 days post Dhanteras, this will be the litmus test, and I'm sure auto industry will successfully clear this litmus test. And going forward, we have year-end sale also coming in December.
Right.
So they will be plus December. So that is going to be an absolutely great run for the industry,
Right.
which we
Mr.
will.
Damani, my question really is that while this festive season, of course, is understandable, there is likely to be not just passing, but passing with flying colors when it comes to the litmus test you're talking about. But what happens post the New Year discounts also going away? So do you, in your opinion, do you feel that it's not just going to be this 42 days, it's going to be maybe as much as about 90 odd days, but beyond that, it's going to be difficult for the demand to sustain?
I don't think so that it will be difficult for demand to sustain because this booster, or as we call it, the Sanjeevani Booty,
Yeah.
will add as a booster for the Indian consumers. We
All
also
right.
need to understand that government has already announced income tax which is free until 12 lakh rupees, which means there is more disposable income with the public. Plus, when they come out in the market, they'll be spending less on vehicles. So that discretionary buying cycle will actually go up. and this will create a momentum in the industry so that we see not only in the festive but New Year, but going forward also demand will sustain for times to come.
All right, Mr. Chenoy, I wanted to ask you about the affordable, the entry-level hatchbacks, but that has already been answered by Mr. Damani. So now I want to flip it and ask you about luxury cars. And luxury cars, by virtue of, the base price only being so high, so any lower tax on that is resulting in much bigger absolute sums of savings for consumers. So discounts as much as 11 lakh rupees for Mercedes-Benz, a few models, similar numbers coming in from BMW, etc. as well. So do you think those customers who are sitting on the cusp, who can afford, the beyond 4-meter kind of cars, are they going to now pivot to the luxury cars? And are these brands, especially the German ones, really going to make a killing in the Indian market from here on?
So I think, Kartik, there are three things which are working as we speak. The first is, it was just mentioned that there has been an income tax rejig, right? And under the new income tax scheme, you actually have marginally little more money in your hands. The second thing which is happening, the inflation has been kept very low. So inflation is in check. So, there seems to be more affordable, disposable income in the hands of customers.
Yeah.
The third is the GST cut. The GST cut has got multiple impact. Not only does it make the cars cheaper, but given that GST has been cut on daily necessities and households and all of that. So there is going to be a little more money in the hands of customers, and especially the high-end customers. So there are a few percentage of buyers who are aspiring to go there, but were at the margin, right? Now that margin has significantly increased because of one, the income tax, two, the low inflation, and three, the GST cuts across the board. So you will see at least the total addressable market for that segment increasing dramatically over the next few months. And therefore, the conversion rates, if they happen, then you will see a lot, you'll see increase in sales there. But like I mentioned, that segment is also very conscious. So, you might actually see also, a tussle between EV sales in that segment and the ICE vehicles and the hybrid segment in that thing. So you will see, across the board increase in sales from entry level to higher luxury and vehicles over the next few months.
All right.
And, just to add to what Saharsh said,
Sure.
that, you mentioned newer discounts and, we talked about the festive discounts, right?
Yeah.
But this whole rejigging of the GST gives the leeway to the OEs to actually do some innovative, discounting models in a period of difficult times of sales. So you will see this space getting a lot more competitive. You will see all of them offering lower price points to customers to increase sales. So I think it's a big positive for the auto industry and for the country as a whole.
Right. So the next obvious question, Mr. Chenoy, therefore, is that since this competitive landscape is becoming even more aggressive and since the tax has been simplified, do you see the entry of more global brands coming into India now that there is a much bigger tax incentive for them to sell to Indians? So just to put it in perspective, the CEO of Volkswagen just announced yesterday that it is looking at India and could potentially be eyeing India to bring in a small electric vehicle into the country. Now, can we also at this point expect other brands? See, we've seen the VinFast with the VX17 now already announced and launched in India. But can we see other brands, let's say a Fiat and a Ford and a GM, make a comeback into India?
So, those decisions will be being discussed in boardrooms yet. Some have been early off the, the blocks, and they have announced their entry into India. But you'll see existing players also looking at different models because, the way the GST is structured is engine size and also length, right? So every manufacturer here would look at how they could get a vehicle at different price points. Some of the manufacturers have not introduced models very recently and have lost market share. So they will be looking at a different perspective. Others who are not present in certain segments, like you mentioned, Volkswagen on entry-level EVs, they will look at this. And others even the price of imported cars will actually reduce because of the GST cut, because there is an additional duty which is to offset this, but that will actually enable and make it interesting for the import segments and test consumer marketing here. But yes, you will see more, at least more vehicles being introduced by existing players. Whether the players who left India come back, that's a different question. It's a long-term kind of situation.
Right. Well, let's leave it at that this morning. Mr. Damani, Mr. Chenoy, thank you so much. Pleasure having you here with us on Newsline to put this very big development and a continuing story into perspective for all our viewers. Thank you so much for your time.